If you asked me when I was getting into medical school what specialty I was gonna get into, I would have given you a very confident answer. And I would have been wrong. I spent years thinking that my life was gonna look a certain way, only to end up somewhere kind of really completely different. But honestly, it is exactly where I belong. In this video, I want to talk to you guys about how I found my specialty, why it surprised me, and how I knew it was the right fit for me. Because honestly, finding the right specialty is so stressful in the moment, and I think that we owe it to ourselves to do our due diligence and end up where we belong. So guys, I've actually never talked about this on my channel, but I was in pre-med and in college and even a good chunk of medical school thinking that I was going to do a surgical subspecialty. All of my mentors were in this subspecialty. All of my research was in this subspecialty. My undergrad degree was related to it. Like, I knew this was what I was gonna do with my life because I knew I wanted to do something active, hands-on, where I'm bouncing around, fixing things with my hands. Basically, I wanted to be walking around, doing things, knowing a bunch of information, not just sitting or standing around all day long. So I went into med school with this like vision of what my future would look like. However, something I did for myself that I would recommend anybody in medical school to do is explore. There's no better place to explore every single specialty that we can than in medical school, because even as a pre-med, it is so difficult finding shadowing opportunities. And in medical school, we are surrounded by all sorts of types of doctors. You're finally kind of in the club, and so people are more willing to go out of their way to help you. Honestly, people are proud of what they do. So if as a medical student you approach your attending and ask them, can I come shadow you? They'll be like, yes, girl. So take that time. When I was in my first couple years of med school, I shadowed a ton of specialties. I went to even more interest group meetings. I talked to attendings, I talked to residents. I was asking them, especially the residents, the scary questions of like, would you do this again? Are you happy? And I listened to their answers. And it's important to note that just because one person is not happy with their specialty does not mean you will not be, but it is important for me to have gotten a bunch of exposure and to have heard a lot from a lot of different people. The way I went about this personally was my curriculum was broken into body systems, and so I kind of just shadowed when the body system was there. During brain and behavior, I was shadowing neurology and going into interest group meetings for that. And the same thing with like CP Heme, cardiopulmonary hematology. Like, I made sure I shadowed at least one doctor in those specialties. So I shadowed one of my preceptors who was an electrophysiologist. And here's the thing, everything was exciting. I was like, I love it all. And I think that's a good thing because it reaffirmed to me that I was in the right path. I am going to be a doctor, and I love what all these doctors are doing. So while nothing felt wrong or like absolutely not, except for maybe peds, nothing like jumped out at me and was like, this is it. This is what you're supposed to do with your life. And I know that for many people, finding their specialty was just finding the field of medicine they hated the least, or what they could see themselves doing and like not hating over time. But I wanted to give myself the best shot at finding something that felt like a shoe-in, felt like I was made for this and that it was made for me. And honestly, that's what I found. Then one day, my preceptor, the electrophysiologist, was out and my substitute was an emergency medicine doctor. He went around and asked everyone in my group, what do we want to do? And so when I told him my answer, he was like, dude, that, come shadow me in the ED. And I was like, whoa. But I did. It was actually May 20th, which is the day before my birthday. He was working a night shift and he was like, come in at like 11 p.m. Stay for a couple hours. And I was like, you know what? Okay. I literally thought I would, like, I never, ever thought emergency medicine. And so it felt like it was gonna be a waste of time, but I was like, this is my time to like see all the things and blah, blah, blah. So let me go. All I wanted to see was a gunshot wound. I was like, if I see one gunshot wound, I'll be excited. I walk in and like, one guy has pneumonia, one girl just drove her car through a building, local party got shot up. So like a bunch of people were coming in with like gunshot wounds to the extremities. I was like, oh my God. Prior to medical school, I was a server / bartender. The environment also reminded me of that because instead of bouncing around and asking people, what do you want to eat? What would you like to drink? Do you want another? It was like, what happened? And kind of like, what can I do for you? And so the vibe reminded me of that, I remember. And I loved that. I loved seeing so many different things. And there was one particular patient that night that I'll never forget, impacted me so much. And I would love to tell that story on this channel one day. I wanted to tell it immediately, but my friend Andy Wynn was like, I think you need to like process this before you go online and talk about it. It's been a couple years, I've processed it, and yeah, I think I'm ready to tell that story. But yeah, so I left the ED. I was supposed to stay until like 1 a.m. I left at 4 a.m. I went in and it was sunny. Like when I was going in that day beforehand, it was sunny and warm and just like beautiful. And when I was leaving that night, it was raining, which was very fitting for that one patient that I was just talking about. It felt like real medicine. I don't know how else to describe it. Something just clicked with me. From that point on, when people asked me what I wanted to do, I said this specific surgical subspecialty or emergency medicine. It freaked me out because I had this vision in my head of who I was and what I was gonna do. And they uprooted it. And so I finish up like first and second year, I take step one. Third year comes around and I start rotating through everything. So now it's like, not only did I have kind of like a shadowing experience in med school, but now I'm like in it, talking to patients, walking around, writing notes, and I loved everything. I loved everything. Every single rotation I was on, I was like, am I gonna be a family medicine doctor? Am I gonna be a neurologist? Like, I love stroke alerts. I love like looking at CTs and MRIs of the brain and having to know that anatomy and determining why people are behaving the way they are and what's broken and why is it presenting this way. I love surgery because I love getting in there, helping people with structural problems that are severely impacting their lives. I loved bouncing around from different hospitals to help with surgery. I loved having to know so much on medicine and family medicine, being able to make like real changes for people. So not gonna lie, part of this was I'm not sitting down studying for 12 hours anymore. I'm walking around, I'm talking to people, and I love that. But I think it also just again reaffirmed to me that I'm meant to be a doctor. I love this. I love all of this, and if I get to do any of this, I'm the luckiest girl in the world. I love my patients, I love serving my community, I love contributing to society. But then I realized if I did neurology, I would never see trauma. If I did family medicine, I'd have to work in a clinic, which I didn't love either. If I did internal medicine, I would spend a lot of time on the computer just documenting, and I wanted to be face to face with people. I realized I wanted to see everything. I wanted to know a bunch about a bunch. I wanted to be able to help anybody coming in the door, no matter what. And something else kept coming up for me. If a stroke alert was called, if an urgent to emergent cholecystitis was called, anytime I had to go down to the emergency room for a consult, I got excited. And I wasn't excited because these patients were emergent and were suffering. I was grateful to be going down there to help them. I also just really loved the environment. I love the teamwork and the energy and this like the controlled chaos of it all and how everyone's moving together for a common solution. And honestly, anytime I went to the emergency department, it just felt like home. It just felt like this is where I belonged, you know? That feeling is really hard to describe if you have not experienced it. My hope is that any medical student finds this for themselves. Even when I started experiencing this stuff, it was very hard to let go of this old preconceived notion of who I was gonna be and being uncertain that I was making the right decision. So like, I talked to a lot of people about it, family members, classmates, who were going into other things and like why they liked that. Residents again, I prayed a lot about it. Kind of just allowed myself to sit and like feel all the things. And then I realized these gut feelings, this excitement, maybe it wasn't a coincidence. Maybe that was like the universe guiding me and like pushing me towards a certain direction, even if it wasn't originally what I had planned for myself. Okay, I have to get lower because my legs are getting numb. I couldn't unsee what I had seen. I couldn't unfeel what I had experienced in this excitement. And I had to sit with myself and say, okay, so what is more important to me now? The old future for myself that I envisioned, the prestige that it would award me, the money, and if it's impressive to others, or doing what genuinely feels right for me and what feeds my soul and where I think I belong, truly. I'm going to be brutally vulnerable right now. So there were a couple things about changing my mind that I think are important to talk about. One was that when I was deciding to go into emergency medicine, the field was in this flux of competitiveness. So a few years ago, like especially in the beginning up until maybe when I got into medical school, emergency medicine was highly competitive. But maybe 5 years ago, a fear-mongering paper came out discussing how emergency medicine was like gonna go away and be like taken over by other careers, and a lot of people stopped going into it because of this fear. And so it became significantly less competitive. And so I had to sit with myself and say, am I wanting to go into this because I feel like it'll be easier? Or am I wanting to go into this because it feels like it's right? That was a process that I really had to sit with and pray about as well. Ultimately, I realized I don't care if this is the most competitive specialty or the least competitive specialty. This is what I was meant to do with my life. And unfortunately now it is like creeping back up on its competitiveness. And so that was a huge doubt when I was like contemplating between the two. And when it came down to it, I realized I've never made a decision based on prestige. That's just not what drives me. That's not what is important to me. I'm not becoming a doctor because it sounds cool to say. I'm becoming a doctor because I want to heal people. I want to serve my fellow human. And if I get to do that in a way that feels like exciting and aligned with who I am and brings me joy, lucky me. I think that that will help avoid burnout and resentment. And that path for me is emergency medicine. I'm very proud of that. I'm very excited for it. So that's how I landed on emergency medicine, but why do I love it so much? It is fast-paced, girl. You are always moving. You are always talking to people. We are fixing things with our hands. We are resourceful. We are energetic. We are excited. I love the team. I love, again, the personalities. I feel like I actually, unfortunately, fit the stereotype of emergency medicine. I think the stereotype, like if you've seen Dr. Glockenflucken's posts, is like an adrenaline junkie who's like always drinking an energy drink and like rides bicycles. And I am cutting down on my caffeine consumption. I only have a cup of coffee in the morning these days, but I love riding bikes. I love being outside. I love doing physical activities. I love moving around. Okay, I need to slow down. I just love it. We're collaborative. We're communicative. We're compassionate. And I think like in general, a lot of people in emergency medicine are down to earth. Like they're just chill. I love the breadth of the medicine. Like you see everything, girl. You see everything because everything gets shipped to us first. We see emergencies, critical alerts. We see the undifferentiated patient. We see people with a million different diagnoses and have to figure out what is happening here. It's exciting to be working not just my mind in determining what is happening, but also my body in resuscitations and procedures and like intubations and all of the things. And we like talk to everybody. And as you can tell, I love talking. So I love that like I'm on the phone with my colleagues, especially when they're nice, working together to treat our patients. And I love that it's like the jack of all trades. I feel like that just kind of fits who I am. Like we're thinking and doing at the same time. We're working with literally every single body system. Like I'm never gonna tell somebody, oh no, sorry, I can't, I don't know, you know? Like figure it out, girl. I like that it's shift work. So when I'm at work, I'm working, and when I am at home, I am at home. And I like that a lot of emergency medicine doctors are subcontracted and 1099. We work for ourselves most of the time. We can do locums very easily. Because I won't have a patient that belongs to me and kind of reports to me regularly, I can go anywhere. Like I can work in Georgia today, in Australia tomorrow, and all I need to do is know how to do my job. That's exciting to me. I have like big dreams and I feel like the world is my oyster in that sense. And I alluded to this earlier, but I love that we are the safety net. I love that when a patient comes in, whether you are an infant or you are elderly, whether you have insurance, don't have insurance, whether you are homed or not, I'm helping you, no questions asked. I will help anybody anywhere. I mean, like if you're on a plane and something happens to you, who do you want on that plane with you? Emergency medicine. And I know that any physician is there to help. I just feel like the daily practice is very much like literally I'm just here to help with anything. And finally, the camaraderie. There's a real special teamwork aspect to it. The physicians are no better than the nurses are no better than the techs are no better than pastoral care or environmental services. We all are on like a first name basis and we're just vibing. Like we're relying on each other and supporting each other, and I think it's beautiful. I really love it. I'm very much like, I'm no better than anybody and nobody is better than me, and I feel like emergency medicine, it's not a pyramid of like importance like some other specialties are. Everyone is like on the ground together. That was a lot. If you're still watching this, thank you so much. So yeah, that's my path to emergency medicine, the specialty I never thought I would choose, but I'm so grateful I did. It wasn't what I planned, it wasn't what I expected, but I'm so grateful I found it. If you're in medical school and you are not quite sure where you belong or what you need to do with your life, you are in the right place. I'm proud of you for continuing to question and explore and not rush into something and force it to work. Just keep in mind that sometimes the right specialty is the one that like quietly brings you back, and when you're in it and around it, you feel a sense of peace and belonging. If it's not what you originally thought, that's okay. You're still a doc, you're still out here, you're still helping people and treating them. Just be true to yourself, not what other people want. If that answer ends up being emergency medicine for you too, welcome. If you are a med student who's still figuring it out and not really sure what your fit is, let me know in the comments where you're at and like what you're thinking, because I love hearing different people's experiences and stories. Okay guys, with that, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like this video or would like another sort of video, or for me to go further into what it was like to share with people that I changed my mind, or some of the more specific examples of why some specialties were less of a fit than this one, I would love to, or anything else. And yeah, with that, I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.